Area that's prone to flooding, and we cover it every time we see heavy rains. Cross Creek in Fayetteville. CBS 17's Amy Cutler is there. And Amy, we've seen the conditions sort of change to heavy rain, and then we saw the wind start to pick up, and then you said it got a little bit cooler where you're at.
Yeah, and Angela, in the last couple of minutes, that rain has picked up yet again. It is really intense. The Cross Creek, which is behind us here, you can see is really started to fill with water. It looks more like a river at this point than it does a creek. And this is a creek that typically floods Festival Park. It's close to downtown Fayetteville. During Matthew and Florence, we saw some significant flooding in this area. The parking lot surrounding it just covered in water. I want to mention Matthew and Florence because much of Cumberland County was really hard hit by those two hurricanes. People still rebuilding from that. And so when you talk to folks down here, they really take these hurricanes seriously. They prepare, they stock up on supplies, they have that generator in place, and they really try to do the best. They stay off the roads and that kind of thing. They've really experienced the worst of what Mother Nature can bring, and so they take these, these types of weather events very seriously. The city of Fayetteville putting a state of emergency into effect because of this. The Cumberland County putting its Office of Emergency Management into 24-hour working order. They've had minimal staffing because of COVID-19, but they are monitoring conditions very closely. We've also seen the Salvation Army has added some additional beds, 22 additional beds. All of those are filled at this point, but just driving around, it seems like folks are taking it seriously. They're staying off of the roads, but we're going to continue to drive around. We're going to head a little over more toward downtown Fayetteville to get an idea of what the conditions are like there. Marius, Angela?
Well, Amy, you've covered that area for a while, Cross Creek. You've seen the different storms that have come through. Can you compare this to past storms? Is it better? Is it worse?
At this point, it's a lot better than what we've seen in the past, but we're still sort of at the beginning of this weather event, and so things could change very quickly. But really, in the last hour or so, the creek has really picked up. The speed of it, the height of it has really picked up. It was, it's hard to say. I really should have put a stick into the ground to get a sense of how much the water has risen in the amount of time we've been out here. But at this point, it's still in its banks. That's the good news. We haven't seen any flooding in any of the surrounding parking lots or the park that's close to where we are. Even at certain points, there's some pedestrian bridges that go over. They tend to flood too. At this point, you could still walk over those pedestrian bridges, so it's not too bad.
That's good to know, Amy, and we trust your judgment. And we've actually seen from the beginning, when you were there initially, it has come up, but the good news is, as you mentioned, it hasn't come out of the banks yet. So some good news there.
Very
Hopefully
good news.
It stays that way.
Thank you so much, Amy. We saw some of the lights flickering behind.